Today we got a brand new video for you guys. I've been working on a few at the same time. This just happened to be the first one that got done, so let's dive into it. Now looking at the boy right here, there's probably a few things you can notice that are quite immediately different. The first one is that we completely got rid of the distributor, which is nice, in favor of a cam sync sensor, and now we have coil on plug ignition. So it's a lot more direct, it's a lot more precise. I am actually running this on direct fire. Down here we do have a trigger wheel. It is a 60-2 Electromotive trigger wheel that I adapted on, and engine management is being taken care of by a Haltech Elite 1500. So what we're gonna do in this one is I'm just gonna kind of unpack what I've done and give you a little step-by-step or a rundown of what I've done to get this working. The 3TC, 2TC, none of those are supported by Haltech, so with their customer service, we figured out how to get it running. Took a little bit, but it works really nicely. And the cool thing is, I actually got the motor running sequentially on direct fire without the cam sync. The cam sync came later. So I'm gonna be showing you how to get her running with the sequential direct fire injection, 1, 3, 4, 2, but without a cam sync. Usually you need the cam sync to get it working. Basically the crux of it all is we just ignore cam sync and the ECU is running on an assumed state. But we'll dive into all that. We'll take care of the hardware first, and then I'll go into a little bit of the programming with you. Okay, so let's take it slow and go through everything piece by piece. For starters, at the top of the motor, we do have our coils, the coil on plug conversion. You need 4 of these and you just need to wire them in. Now, because of the way it runs, these are also their own little igniter modules. So you don't need a separate igniter to run this. That's all taken care of right there. My igniter's long gone. And it does the job very nicely, very cleanly, and the startup time is a lot faster. So where you can get these coils, that's pretty easy. Everyone kind of already knows it, but I'm gonna say it again. These come out of a Yaris. You can get them from the 2006, 2008, 2010. They all use the same coil. If you can't find a Yaris, don't worry. This is Toyota. They reuse everything. You can find the exact same coil in the 2nd gen Toyota Prius. You can find the same coil in the Scion XA. You could find the same coil in the Scion XB. It doesn't exactly need to be the Yaris. All of those models I've just mentioned use the exact same coil. Just go to your local U-pull it, find the coil and the harness, snip it, and you're done. As you can see here, that's literally what I did. And just kind of wire tucked it and got it running, no problem. Being that we're running a Haltech Elite 1500 ECU, all of these are driven directly from the computer itself, and it is complete sequential fire. If you'd like to, you can totally do batch fire. There's no problem with that. Me personally, I just wanted sequential. Diving a little deeper into the motor, we have the Electromotive 60-2 trigger wheel. It's bolted right in the front of the balancer. And to be honest with you, this comes as a universal. So you do have to measure it out, get it nice and center, and then plant her down. Now, the way that I did it personally is I removed the very front power steering pulley from this because I don't have power steering. And I ran a screw through the back of the balancer. That way there was a stud sticking straight out facing the front of the motor. From there, I got some threaded inserts and put them on top of that. That way now there's a base coming off of it, and I just screwed the trigger wheel onto that base. It's very solid, it works really well. If I need to adjust it, I drilled out the holes just a tad bigger so I can adjust it any way I need. The actual sensor in and of itself is from a Ford Fiesta. The 2016 models, 2014, 2012, they all use the same sensor. It's very simple. It's a reluctor style, which means it's a magnet, only uses 2 wires, and the ECU is just happy with that. With the Elite 1500, you can use a Hall or a reluctor, either which way. Just make sure you get your parameters down and it'll work just fine. I'll show you exactly what parameters I'm running with it. That way, if you want to replicate this, you have all the information you need to do it. Looking a little more past the trigger wheel, you can see the mount for the sensor and the sensor itself. Like I mentioned before, it is a reluctor type sensor, the magnetic one, non-powered. Now mine is a little bit off center. That's because when I bolted down my trigger wheel, it warped the wheel a little concave. So the sensor is now making up for that in the same direction. That being said, I'm using an aluminum mounted one. I bought this from a gentleman in, I believe, Denmark. Real cool dude. It was a custom one-off piece. I think he only had a limited run and they're no longer sold. That being said, I'm probably gonna end up making my own out of some engineering grade filament and having them for sale, just that way it's in the same spot if you'd like. If not, there are quite a few other people who put them on these two little nubs coming off of the timing cover. That works too. Just remember, when I show you what my timing is or where the TDC offset is in the computer, it will be different from if you put it over there, but that's okay because we can probably figure it out with basic math exactly what that offset would be on the side. So it's no biggie at all. Let's move on to the cream of the crop, the weird part of all this, the OEM style cam sync sensor. All right, so let's dive into the cam sync sensor. Now the cam sync sensor in and of itself is an OEM piece, and you can buy brand new ones, whether it be on Amazon, AutoZone, Discount, wherever you like going, you'll be able to buy one brand new, meaning that this is a solution, a solid solution for putting a working Hall effect cam sync sensor on a 3TC. The background for this mainly relies on the fact that the 3TC is a copied engine. We all know that. It's a Hemi. It's a baby Hemi. Who kind of brought the Hemis back in the day? Well, they're still using the name Dodge. You know, in 1955 with the Chrysler 300, there was the Hemi 331. Keep that in mind. That was in the mid to late 50s. The 3TC came into the game in the early 60s, which means it gave Toyota about 5-6 years of development to make their own little version and run it. And they're still running, as most of you know, which means it's a great piece. The issue is that if you want to bring it into the modern age with EFI, with direct fire, anything like this, you need a cam sync for that sequential crispiness. Now, what I've done is taking the knowledge I know, it's a Dodge copy, knowing Dodge, knowing any kind of American manufacturer, they don't change much because they don't have the capital to change much. We all know this. LS, the LT4s, the Chevy 350s from back in the day, it's all the same engine. It's the same soup, just different broth. So is Dodge doing the same thing? The answer is yes. Yes, they are. If you go to the vehicle that I got this from, which is the middle to late 90s Jeep Grand Cherokee, as well as the, I want to say early 2000s Jeep Grand Cherokee, they're all the same freaking car. It's just a different body. It's the same straight six. Even the steering box is in the same location. It's all the same car, different skin. That vehicle, being a subsidiary of Dodge, uses the exact same, let me repeat, uses the exact same distributor profile, that bottom half, as all the old ones. They never changed, which means that if it worked back then and that's what Toyota copied, it'll work with the new piece because it's all the same spec. That being said, you can't just drop it in. It needs to be machined. It needs to be narrowed a little bit at the bottom, and the profile needs to change on the shaft that goes into the oil pump, because if not, it doesn't drive it. And there's no point in driving an engine that can't feed itself oil. That's stupid. That being said, though, once you get it in, you get all the gearing right, the mesh is perfect. The mesh is exactly the way it was with the factory distributor, which I'll show you right now. Once you get all that working, you will have a functioning cam sync sensor that any ECU will identify. So here we go, the nitty gritty. Right here on the left, we have a 3TC stock big boy distributor housing. Right next to it, we have the electronic 2TC tall neck skinny boy distributor. And then next to those, we have two identical cam sync sensors from the Jeep that I had mentioned. Now, you're going to notice a very big difference here and a lot of similarities. One of the most beautiful similarities is that this guy and this guy both have the exact same diameter. It's the same girth. It's literally the same dude. You just slide that into the block and it's nice and secure. The second thing you'll notice is that this guy, the profile of the actual oil drive is the same. The only difference here is that this one's going to be a lot thicker than this one, so this must be milled down, and you got to be perfect with the milling. If you're not on the money with the way you mill this down, the actual gears themselves will not mesh. And that brings me to my next point. This gear and this gear are identical in every single way. Let me say that again. The camshaft oil drive gear from the Jeep for this cam sync sensor is a mirror copy. It's a damn twin compared to this one, to the stock Toyota one. Now what you'll notice is that the teeth on this are a little thicker than that. Let me dispel that for you real quick. The difference here is that those teeth are ground down and you're looking at the cross section of the gear. Over here, they're just with the peaks. Like the only difference is that they have their peaks. So this one goes a tad more into the groove than this one, but the backlash that goes through them, like the actual wear pattern, it's the same. To put some truth onto that, this is the same damn sensor and this is my daily driver. Shocking, I know. But I've been running this through its paces for a while now. I've been taking a few trips from where I'm located here, a little south of Tampa, all the way up to Orlando and back. I've taken it through Kissimmee to Melbourne. I've gone down to Sarasota, taken it to the Strip a few times just for tuning. It works. Like there's no humming coming out of it. There's no binding. There's no back talk. Like I don't see the oil pressure just drop and then come back up. It's doing exactly what it needs to do. The actual tie down could be a little prettier. I'm actually working on that, but it works. It does the job mechanically as well as electronically. So the way that you can get this to work is you got to press out that pin and then you got to re-drill this. Now this is extremely hard steel. That's almost tool steel. So you're going to need a really hard bit and you're going to need a machine with a lot of precision, not a lot of run out on the bit, because you won't drill the dowel hole correctly and that will give you problems. So just going to put that into perspective, pull this out, because I already took that dowel out. You literally flip it, it's the same pattern. They both go the same angle, no matter which way you have it. And then you just put it right back on. Now, word to the caution, word of wise, word of caution, I guess. I can't really do this with one hand. You're gonna need a bushing right here. Because what happens is this gear has a certain backlash on it, and that's the backlash that it can play around with in this little groove. So you're going to need some kind of bushing in here. I use a bronze bushing and it works just fine. Let's see if I can just turn this upside down and snaggle it on. There we go. There it is. Now all you really have to do is make sure that this distance matches that distance. And that takes a little bit of finagling. Usually it's somewhere around here. I'm just eyeballing it. But yeah. And you have a much bigger gear too, so you can actually play with it a little ways, make it a little higher, make it a little lower if you prefer. But where I have it drilled in mine, where I machined it out or milled it through, I'm sorry, it works just like factory. It's even it works. Like there was no real shavings in the oil. I checked on the last oil change. I did that about 2 days ago. It's looking great, and it does the job. So yep, those are the boys. That's the secret sauce when it comes to the cam sync sensor for the 2TC and 3TC Toyota engines. They are brand new units, they are OEM, so they are built to last, and they are quality units, which is perfect. At a much cheaper cost than getting it from some other random aftermarket brand that you may not even know if it works. At least you know with this video and with these results, it works. Now, I personally will be selling these, and they, again, will be brand new units. That way you can just drop them in and go. Sync it up to your computer, do whatever you need to do. It'll work. If you have me on 3tcgarage.com, you can absolutely hit me up there and we can talk business. If you want, you can totally drop me a personal message here and I will answer it. No problem. I always answer all the questions that are on my videos. So please, if anything arises or you have any type of question involving this process, this particular part of the motor, please let me know. I'll answer it for you. Until the next one, in that video, we are going to be talking about the brains behind all of this. So the tuning to get it started, all the TDC offset, pretty much everything that has to deal with the computer and running the 3TC with the hardware that's on the engine, we're going to go over. That'll be coming in part 2 very soon. So until next time, see you guys and take it easy.